Max had lived in his apartment for a year, enjoying the quiet. His top-floor unit overlooked the city, and the peaceful solitude suited him well. But when the landlord told him the apartment above his had finally been rented, Max was surprised. He'd never seen anyone move in. No trucks, no boxes, nothing. Yet, suddenly, he started hearing footsteps from above, heavy, dragging footsteps that went back and forth all night. At first, he thought it was just the new tenant settling in. But as the days passed, the noise grew worse. The pacing seemed endless, and it always started at the same time, midnight. Max tried knocking on the door of the upstairs apartment, but no one ever answered. He even asked the landlord about the new tenant, but all he got was a shrug. "They pay on time," was all the landlord said. One night, after a particularly loud bout of pacing, Max had enough. He grabbed a broom and knocked on the ceiling. The pacing stopped. Satisfied, Max settled back into bed, but as soon as he closed his eyes, the noise started again, only this time, it was directly above his bed, and louder than ever. Frustrated, Max went upstairs and knocked on the door. Still no answer. Feeling bold, he turned the knob. It was unlocked. The apartment was dark, with only the faint light from the street seeping through the windows. The air inside was thick, stale, and cold. He called out, but no one responded. As he ventured further in, Max noticed something odd. The furniture was covered in dust, as if no one had lived there in years. The apartment was completely untouched. There were no signs of anyone living there at all, no personal items, no clutter, nothing. Just an eerie, abandoned space. Then, from the far corner of the apartment, he heard it, the dragging footsteps, slowly moving toward him. Max froze, his heart pounding in his chest. He turned toward the door, ready to run, but it slammed shut, trapping him inside. The footsteps grew louder, and as they reached the room where he stood, the air grew impossibly cold. Suddenly, the room fell silent. Max, trembling, slowly backed toward the door, his eyes scanning the empty apartment. Then, from the shadows, a figure emerged, a tall, gaunt man with hollow eyes and a twisted smile. His clothes were tattered, and his skin looked gray, like he'd been locked away for far too long. "Finally, you heard me," the man whispered, his voice raspy and broken. Max's breath caught in his throat. He turned and yanked the door open, fleeing down the stairs. He never looked back. The next morning, Max packed his things and left the apartment for good. He didn't bother explaining to the landlord why. But as he walked away, he glanced up at the windows of the apartment above his. The gaunt figure was standing there, watching him leave, a faint smile still etched on its face.